You are listening to Slightly Sauced. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 203 of Slightly Sauced. My name's John.
I'm Jake.
I'm Kayla.
I'm Derek.
I'm Tyler.
Oh, we got through that one without Derek sounding like an answering machine. Welcome to the show.
Do you want to redo it?
No. It's good. It's good to not fuck
sure?
up the intro. Yeah, like if you want to fuck it up, we can. I mean, we used to have a long-running gag about fucking up the intro, but I think we're good. I think we got it. We're set.
I thought you liked the answering machine thing.
I don't know how to start this thing anymore. I mean, we used to go right into an article, I suppose. But Tyler, you wanted to do the thing where we all recommend stuff for people to see again, right?
Yeah, so our new segment called Check This Thing Out. I think
We're just going to keep changing it, huh? Okay.
I mean, we might as well.
All right, fair enough.
I don't have anything, so while I scramble to find one...
Come on. It's your segment, for Christ's sakes.
Well, we'll start with someone else. How about Jake?
I recommend that you eat lots of schnitzel because it's delicious.
I like schnitzel.
It's not a regular fast food item, but yeah, definitely go for schnitzel. That was my dinner. It was great.
I like that one schnitzel they got over, I think it's called Metro. The schnitzel has a couple of fried eggs on it with paprika. Oh, fuck. That's schnitzel and fried eggs. That's an incredible combination. I'm sad that my life went so long without me knowing about it.
I recommend that people check out getting their car serviced on a regular basis.
Oh, what happened to your car when you didn't?
Well, my check engine light's been on for 6 months, and now I'm just afraid of what they have to say about what's wrong with it.
A coworker of mine took his car in to get, I guess they wouldn't change his oil because they had to change the entire oil pan because it had rusted out. But when he took it in, they basically wouldn't return his car to him because it was in such bad shape.
I've had a mechanic pull that on me, hey man, I can't give you this back. It's too dangerous.
It's a legit fear I have at this point. My car is
yeah, you're starting to get to the point where we were with Steph's car.
Old.
Yeah, we had to get rid of it. Had to put it down. It was a good car. Actually, she got a text tonight from her brother. Her brother refurbished and flipped the car, sold it to somebody else, and it's come back into him for some minor repairs. And he sent her some pictures of the interior on the car. And I don't know if it belongs to a 20-something, but it's all full of pink now. There's a pink steering wheel cover and pink seat covers and fuzzy pink animals and fucking pink dice hanging from the rear view. It's very strange.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds a lot of pink.
Yeah, it's a lot of pink. It's decked out. It's very weird to see the car like that. I'm going to recommend a thing, but I'm going to kind of, since nobody else is following any kind of pattern, I'm going to go with self-promotion recommendations. I've been getting my start at making some YouTube videos lately, so I think people should check out my YouTube videos if you like woodworking. If you don't like watching dudes play with their wood, then you probably shouldn't check it out.
Are you going to pester us all to like and subscribe?
At the end of every video, Jake. That's how you do it on YouTube. You got it.
Why are you so horrible?
Because that's how YouTube works. If you don't like and subscribe, then the video doesn't get seen by other people.
You don't have to tell people to do it every time.
Yeah, you do, though. Because some people don't just watch YouTube all the time. Some people only see
it once
in a while.
I'm going to go over there and downvote you.
So, you're all about the shameless self-promotion.
Yeah.
This week, my face is plastered all over local media, and it's a little uncomfortable, I gotta be honest.
Yeah.
No royalty checks?
There will be no royalty checks. The only thing is that I am credited with the photo because it's my giant face on all of these.
So if you were credited with
articles.
the photo, did they give you any advance that you were going to be in the newspaper, or did you just find out? Did they ask you permission?
I gave my boss discretion to use the photo.
It's your boss's fault.
It's not my boss's fault. I gave her permission to use her discretion. It came as a surprise to me because I didn't know that she'd reached out to local media outlets. And so work posted a link to a media article and I clicked on it and the first thing that popped up was my giant face. And now it's been picked up by the CBC. It's been picked up by the Record. So if you're out there in the internet world, check out my giant face.
How giant are we talking here?
So when you're on mobile, as I was when I checked out the link the first time, it takes up the entire screen on mobile with just my face.
But mobile's tiny, so you should be saying my tiny face.
But it was giant.
Depends
like,
how big your phone
was
is.
Just my
They
face.
sell some pretty big phones these days.
Yeah, what if you got like a Galaxy Note 2
Explodey edition.
Explodey device? My face will literally explode in your face.
Derek, you were pretty excited about a game you were playing earlier. Do you want to tell people to check that out?
Yeah, everyone should go out and check Hearts of Iron 4 out. The game I've put the most amount of hours into ever.
How many hours?
It's a lot of fun. Let's see here. 325 hours.
God damn, that's a lot of time, man. I think the most
And that's
game...
assuming that you like didn't leave your machine on or something running it. I have like 2,000 hours in Civ, but that's only because I've left games on for like 3 days straight.
I shudder to think at how many hours of Minecraft I've done. The most I've done on a game that actually tracks, though, was I think I was 190 hours deep into Fallout 4. Pretty sure when I finished it. It was a fucking absurd amount of hours.
That is a long game.
Yeah, it's a lot. Well, I did a completionist. I beat every side quest, and yeah, it was a lot. But anyway.
I'm trying to get my absurd statistics here. I've played a hell of a lot of Destiny over the past time
I can
that it's been
imagine.
released. I'm actually trying to get the number of hours here. It's the site is wastedondestiny.com.
Oh, okay.
That's not that bad. 431 hours, 2 weeks, 3 days, 23 hours.
That's a lot of time on anything, man. That's a lot of time on anything. Okay, is this where we move over to the articles?
I mean, I guess I should probably have some recommendations since I brought this whole thing into existence.
Okay, what are you going to recommend? Last time it was a TV show.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll keep it with that and make it quick. The new season of Sherlock has started, so everyone should check it out.
Oh.
Started and finished, yo.
So I haven't watched it yet. Steph's been rewatching all the old episodes to catch herself up, so I think we're trying to finish
I
Luke
don't
Cage.
like
and
where
then
they
so far.
took this season. It's just a cop-out.
I think
Which season?
Whatever season they are currently on.
You don't enjoy the season? It's not good?
No, I mean,
Because Tyler just said we should check it out. Now you're saying maybe pass? Like, I'm getting mixed
if you're
messages
already
here.
invested in the show, you should probably just like stay invested in the show. I really love the cast. I just didn't like the storyline.
Oh,
I
I
didn't
see.
like the banter as much as I've liked previous. It's all like, wah, poor me.
Yeah, I can see that.
Derek, do you want to start us off with our first article tonight? You got something to share?
Yeah, sure. I got a pretty good article here.
All right, what do you got?
Interesting article, anyways. So NASA is planning a mission to an asteroid. Now, they do this all the time now, I guess.
Do
but,
they? I guess there was the one. They went to one, and then didn't the robot fall in a gutter or something, and it fucking turned off? I don't.
Space gutter.
Yeah, you really
gutter.
got to hope for the best, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to fall in a gutter and turn off like a poor hobo.
Well, these asteroids, they're pretty far away, aren't they?
Yeah, but anyways, this one, it's interesting because it seems to be an actual core of a planet, like
Okay.
the planet's mantle, right? So it's made out of pure metal.
Really?
They think that it was a planet at one time, and through a large impact, it shed all of its outer crust. And they think this planet would have been about the size of Mars. So the interesting thing is just the sheer amount of monetary value of the iron and nickel that they think this thing is made out of. The article says it's 10,000 quadrillion dollars, US dollars. Now,
Holy shit.
so I think US today is retarded because 10,000 quadrillion dollars is really 10 quadrillion dollars. I don't know why they didn't say that.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
10,000 quadrillion sounds better. But so that's like trillions, 1 trillions. I did a little bit of math, and that is 160,000. Oh, I closed my calculator. Anyways, it was 160,000 times the gross domestic product of the world.
What the fuck? Worth of nickel.
Worth of nickel and iron.
So the thought, now, here's my thought, though.
Think of all the change we could mint.
If you could somehow get that close enough to the Earth to like mine it in any substantial way or whatever, wouldn't that just crash the price of those? Like, you can't really think about a resource like that in terms of money value, can you? Because if you had that much suddenly accessible, wouldn't that significantly drop the value of it to the point where
Oh, for
not
sure.
worthwhile?
It'd be like the whole post-scarcity economy
Right.
thing people talk about,
I mean,
right?
which is amazing. Like, I'm not saying necessarily that it's a bad idea to crash the economy if the result is a post-scarcity
But
economy.
on the other hand, if only one entity owned it, I mean,
Right.
then you just supply. Then you're a monopoly.
That's true. That's true.
Doesn't matter what the supply
You
is.
have to wonder if we get into the business of hauling asteroids close to Earth to mine them for their natural resources, if like the world gangs up on that so that like everybody reaps the win, or if like Elon Musk becomes the undisputed leader of the world because he's the one with all the nickel and iron for cheap.
My question is, I mean, Bruce Willis is getting pretty old. Who's going to go up there and mine it?
Oh, definitely. What's his nuts Batman there? He's the next guy. He was on the team, right?
Oh, Ben Affleck.
Yes,
yeah,
Ben Affleck was.
Yeah, he's right there. He's ready to go.
Ben Affleck was on that team. He was in that movie.
You know, I don't think
He
I've
was an
ever
oil
actually
driller.
seen that movie.
It's so good.
I don't think
It
I've seen
really
it.
is good. You should definitely watch it. You'd enjoy it.
I probably would. I love dumb action movies. What was that one?
Aerosmith wrote a whole song for it.
Do you remember Space
Because
Cowboys?
it was faster to train. The movie logic was that it was
That's right.
faster to train oil drillers to be astronauts than it was to train astronauts to machine an oil drill.
I heard a story, and I don't know if it's true, but it was one member of the crew actually confronted Bruckheimer with that idea, and apparently Bruckheimer told him to fuck off. And that was,
The cast
Shut
of
up
that,
with your logic.
yeah.
The cast of that movie is ridiculous. Though.
Oh, it's insane.
Like Bruce Willis, Billy Bob Thornton,
Oh,
Ben
I
Affleck,
love me some good Billy Bob.
Steve Buscemi,
Liv Tyler.
Owen Wilson, Liv Tyler.
God damn, I should see this
Michael
movie.
Clark Duncan.
Holy
Like,
fuck.
Crazy.
So,
Keith David's in it.
Derek, what's involved in going to this asteroid? Is it something new and exciting that they haven't done before?
Oh, they don't really tell you that. They're just saying that they're going to launch in 2023 and it'll arrive in 2030. So they don't actually go into
hang on, they're
the
actually going to tow it
technological.
back to Earth?
No,
Yes.
they're not towing it back to
Oh,
Earth.
fuck.
They're
No,
launching.
they are planning
they're
on
launching-
bringing it into orbit and then mining bits of it.
I don't know if
Once
it's this one, but yeah, there's definitely a mining plan around that time.
Mhm.
There's lots of mining plans for asteroids themselves, but this one is actually just a scientific mission to go and see like the actual physics of it and how our solar system formed. NASA's not gonna bring this asteroid back. First of all, the asteroid is like
I
freaking
don't know, man.
huge.
It's new administration.
Yeah,
it's
you
going to
don't-
be huge. It's going to be tremendous when we can mine this asteroid.
Like it does bring thought to mind though that we're going and we're raping our planet for all of the resources it can or we can get from it, right? And there is basically an unlimited amount of resources within our solar system that we could go get someday. We just got to get there to do it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like we
Wonder
gotta
if they'd,
live on this planet for a long time, so maybe we should try not to fuck it up so much before we can get off of it to get the resources out of the solar system.
Well, and I mean, I think that's kind of the Musk point of view, to bring him up for a second time in this conversation. You sort of can't have a conversation about space without talking about old Elon there, but his thing basically stems from, look, you can't put all your eggs in one basket, right? You got to have humanity in at least two spots, so you got a backup plan in case everything goes to shit here on Earth. And that apparently drives everything that he tries to do, from SpaceX to the car company to the solar panels, like everything. He's a sort of his singular purpose, I guess.
Well, really, any good businessman will tell you that you have to diversify.
Even on your dream of making humanity interplanetary.
Yeah, but if humanity stays in one spot, chances are we're going to get wiped out.
That's sensible.
So there is an asteroid redirect mission
Okay.
where the agency will send a robot out to retrieve an asteroid and bring it close to the moon, and the astronauts will study it in lunar orbit.
So here's my question. If you bring an asteroid into our orbit, I hope somebody's done the math to make sure it's not going to accidentally fall into orbit and destroy us? Because $14 quadrillion worth of nickel would sure as hell blow a giant hole in the middle of the planet, I would think.
So right now they're targeting a near-Earth asteroid called 2008 EV5, and that the first part of the mission will launch in December 2021. I don't know that they've decided So, speaking of collisions, NASA says that moving around a big boulder in space poses no risk to Earth.
Okay, that's good. That's check one off the top of the list.
Because even if there was some kind of unlikely accident, a rock this size would be expected to burn up in our atmosphere.
Oh, so it's a relatively small rock then that they're going to haul in. They're not hauling in the giant nickel planet.
It does not sound like that is their first plan.
Good. I mean, start small, see how it goes, work out the kinks, and then haul in the giant thing. Okay, good idea.
It does, like from that article though that Kayla just cited, it sounds like they're going to be doing, like bringing it into lunar orbit, not so much our own close orbit, right? So chances are if it's going to hit anything, it's going to hit the moon. And really, fuck the moon.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need it. It's only for tides and werewolves and stuff.
You can't explain that.
Well,
Oh, that's
really,
old.
If sea levels are going to rise 8 feet in the next 100 years,
Backing the moon off would be a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take some
push the
pressure
moon
off
away a
global
little.
warming.
Yeah, for sure.
It's one way to save California.
Okay, who's got the next article? I got one, or Jake, do you got something?
Yeah, I guess I can go if you'd like.
Okay, give her.
All right, so this is just it was a short post from Kottke's website, Jason
I'm
Kottke.
sorry. Who?
Kottke, Jason Kottke, Kottke.
Sorry, I thought you said cock keys.
I was hearing cocky.
that'd be an amazing last name, Cock Keys.
Who's Jason Kottke? Should we know who he is?
He writes a blag,
Oh, okay. Any good?
but he's quoting someone else, game designer Elizabeth Sampat, talking about not New Year's resolutions necessarily, but whatever she considers wise advice.
Oh.
The one that got me actually out of the article was the following quote: Mallory Ortberg's "What an odd thing to say" is the world's best polite response to someone saying something insulting.
Oh. What an odd thing to say. So, like, if
What an
somebody
odd
says...
thing to say.
John,
Okay.
you look like a monkey.
What an odd thing to say. Oh, that's kind of cool. Okay, so it flips it back on that person without,
Mhm.
without dropping to that level, I suppose. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Huh.
Yeah, there's a couple other ones. There's one that says, Brussels sprouts and spinach are delicious. It's just that your mom couldn't cook.
Actually, I'm sorry, Mom, if you still listen to the thing, but that's actually kind of true. And not specifically in terms of those things or my mom's cooking necessarily, but in terms of, like, in general, there are good ways to cook a lot of things that you don't think you like. So, like...
Oh, you can smother Brussels sprouts in butter, right?
Oh, yeah. No, if you take Brussels sprouts and if you toss them in olive oil and salt and pepper, this goes for pretty much any vegetable. Olive oil, salt and pepper, toss them, throw them on a sheet pan and dump them in the oven and roast them. Tastes amazing because they get crispy and they're a little salty. It's perfect. But
Add bacon.
What else? There's a couple more here that are actually good. She did 100 of these around the new year, and some of them are good, some of them are like, meh. But what else do we have here? Don't rely on a single person for all your emotional needs, even if monogamous. It's not a poly thing, it's a diversification of assets.
I actually think that's
Assets
a really
are risk.
important one because, I think that's a problem that a lot of the people that I know who've had troubles with their relationships have, is that when you lean on somebody for literally everything and they're your best friend, and I mean, everyone's known that couple who kind of like shields themselves off and sort of stops talking to their friends and becomes super insular. And then at the first sign of trouble, everything falls apart because they have nowhere else to turn. That's dangerous, man. And it's almost not
What
fair.
else? There's a couple more along this line as well. Let's see. The maximum amount of work you can ever possibly do in a relationship is 50%.
Yeah.
And
That's
when someone
sensible.
says they can't do something, 75% of the time it means there are things not worth sacrificing to make this happen.
Well, yeah,
Makes sense.
definitely.
Very true. I cannot take the garbage out.
Okay, come on. That's a shit example. I was thinking more like, I am not capable of having visible abs. It's not that I'm not, it's that I'm really not willing to exercise like that.
You're not willing to give up
No.
all of the delicious
No, I'm
food
just
and
not.
time it would take.
I'm just not willing to do that. But I could do it. It's absolutely physically possible for me to get there. I'm just not willing to go there. That's all.
So sorry, what? Like, she just put up a website with 100 of these random quotes? Like, she just made them up? Like, I don't understand the context.
No, to give you some more context, she posted something. It was like on the 31st of December that said 1 like equals 1 lesson learned, but she said she'd stop at 100 of them. So she's got, it's like 100 tweets in a row about pretty much everything like this.
I see.
So some of them like the spinach and Brussels sprouts one were entertaining, and some of them were right. It's good emotional advice, but not necessarily great for this show.
Right. Well, it's interesting. I got one here. This actually, so what I've got here is an editorial that appeared in our local newspaper. Kayla, I think you saw this editorial. In fact, you might have even told me about it originally. It's from a local writer by the name of Louisa D'Amato, which I usually fucking can't stand this woman or anything she writes, but I think she's right in this case. And the headline is Nothing Pure in CBC's Mennonite series. Have you guys seen the trailers for CBC's new crime drama called Pure?
Yes.
No.
No.
It's something.
It's something else. Okay, so think Breaking Bad, if you've got that in your brain.
Okay.
But what if, guys, Breaking Bad were set with Mennonites as all the characters?
Okay.
It sounds fucking stupid.
And what if the Mennonites
What?
were mobsters who beat the ever-living shit out of people who crossed them? And the Mennonites...
What? No, that is, like, defiantly in the face of pacifism.
And what if the Mennonites were running an underground drug ring to move cocaine?
They wouldn't. What the fuck is this?
This is, I swear to God, this is a real...
Did they just, like, pick a religious component and be like, sure, people don't know shit about Mennonites, let's try that one.
They had this idea for a crime drama, but then it just sounded like everything else, so they had to spice it up somehow.
Yeah. This is, I swear to God,
That
this is
the
a
first time I've
real
ever heard
CBC series.
Mennonite as a spice up.
Yep. But I think that that's what works in its favor, right? Is because everybody has this picture in their heads, if they have one at all, of Mennonites or Amish people, if you're from the States, as well, what they are, pacifists. And so, but what if they were truly a criminal gang, And it sort of stokes
Weird
that.
Al would make the best gang leader of all time.
Yeah, he probably would. That's a great music video.
As I walked.
But anyway.
Why was that like Kermit? I don't understand.
It's Amish paradise.
Kayla's Weird Al impression is a Kermit the Frog impression.
As I walk through the valley.
Yeah.
You all know where I'm going.
No, I know the thing. I'm aware of the thing. Did you see Weird Al's put out a box set of like all of his?
No.
It's you can have all the Weird Al albums on vinyl for like $470, and they come in an accordion case.
So amazing.
But back to Mennonites dealing drugs in this CBC show. D'Amato's article is all outraged, essentially, at the sort of the misrepresentation of Mennonite culture, and I think she's right to be angry. Normally I don't buy into this kind of social outragey stuff, but honestly, the problem with this to me is that it's made by the CBC, and the CBC is supposed to be about Canadian culture, and this is, if anything, absolutely bastardizing a Canadian culture. And it kind of bugs me, because it wouldn't have taken much to send, one intern out to St. Jacobs to do a little fucking research and actually get this at least a little bit right.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all, but I just wonder how much, I wonder if the people who made the show just lack that understanding because they're not in the area like we are. If that makes any sense.
I mean, I guess so, but like it's so apparent to me anyway, because I did grow up in the area and I grew up in a small town. And Derek, you live in a small town right now, so I mean, you can probably back some of this up. But if you just watch the trailer for this, it's the big things like the fact that they portray Mennonites as not being pacifistic, or drug dealers or criminals in any sense. But there's also the small things like they mix and match the subcultures and subgroups. So for people who don't know, there are different types of Mennonites, usually from one end of the spectrum referred to as Old Order Mennonites, and to the other end of the spectrum who are, New Order Mennonites. And there are names for all the parts in between, but they mix and match these. So in the show, they have people who wear different types of clothing, people who drive in buggies with wooden wheels, buggies with rubber wheels, people who drive minivans, and they're all intermingling like they're one big community, and that's just not the way that it works. Like, it's so wrong from its very premise. It's just, it feels weird. The haircuts are wrong, the clothing is wrong, the accents are wrong, the beards are wrong. Whoever wrote and cast this show, they didn't do any research at all about this culture.
And they're trying to generalize a culture that is made up of many different...
Yes, different distinct subcultures for sure.
Yes.
And I mean, if you're trying to give them some credit, maybe they purposely kind of bastardized it so that they weren't calling out any one particular subculture. I mean, maybe that's what they were up to.
It's just lazy.
I see it as lazy, and I kind of see it as, kind of shitty, to be honest, because, it is the CBC, and the CBC is supposed to portray images of Canadians, and this is not a nice portrayal, and it's a not nice portrayal of a group that can't defend itself and can't correct the record, or won't, rather, more accurately, I suppose. There's not going to be some group of old order Mennonites driving their buggies up to the CBC building in downtown Toronto to try and correct the record on how their community works. That's just not going to happen, right? So it's sort of exploitative.
There are many individuals who are Mennonite and are not old order Mennonite who would be seeing this.
Yep.
And it is equally as it is not representative of how diverse the Mennonite community is.
I'd agree. So like I said, I don't usually buy into this kind of social outrage on behalf of other groups, but in this case, because it's the CBC, I feel like they ought to be held to a higher standard.
I went to a Mennonite church for years as a kid. Like, my whole family is Mennonite. I find it slightly offensive and not even like it's stupid offensive. Like, the whole premise is stupid. It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, it should have been thrown out from the very beginning.
Everything about it is stupid. So I honestly hope it makes me rethink the whole we should publicly fund CBC thing if this is the kind of garbage they're going to put on TV.
Well, and it kind of brings me to the point that I think a lot of commentators and people who are a lot smarter than me have been saying for years is that should the CBC be making television for the sake of entertainment? Like, I feel like the CBC ought to be... They try and cast themselves as the BBC, but they're not the BBC, and they don't get the funding the BBC gets, so stop trying to be like this weird kind of shadow of the organization you're trying to impersonate, and instead stick to be the news, make some good documentaries, actually support Canadian culture, put bands up on TV that nobody's going to get a chance to see if not for the CBC. You know what I mean? Keep interviewing Canadian artists on CBC radio so that people get exposure to people they wouldn't otherwise know about. But there's no need to make primetime crime dramas to try and compete with HBO. You're not HBO. Stick to the mandate,
I had a funny conversation the other day, actually with my dad, who said that he rather pointed out the fact that once autonomous vehicles become a thing, the CBC is going to have to cancel their Canada's Worst Driver show.
But that's another good example. Why the fuck is the CBC making bad reality TV? Like, what part of their thing does that serve? Why are my tax dollars spent on making bad television that I can get from any other place? It just doesn't make any sense.
Like, maybe I'm being overly sensitive here because I'm still stuck on this a little bit, but if you took this and set it in Brampton, in the Muslim community there, the Punjabi community there.
Oh, fuck. You'd hear no end of the outrage.
Would this not be completely outrageous and be driving people up the wall?
If you set it on the Six Nations Reserve, you'd have the same outrage. Like, it would be absolutely unacceptable. And this is what I meant about exploiting a group that won't talk back.
So, with that being said, how was Little Mosque on the Prairie received?
Well, but Little Mosque on the Prairie is written by people of that community, for that community, and is full of in-jokes about that community. The whole point is that they're getting the culture right and they're lampooning the culture properly, as opposed to that's getting the culture wrong from the outset.
Yeah, and I think your second point there was especially important considering where the I hesitate to almost say it, but where the world was at the time that show came out. It needed a different viewpoint from the fear and the hatred that was going on.
Right. It was a comedic view of this culture as opposed to a negative view of the culture. So I think that they come from different places, and I think they're made with different intentions. Although, I mean, I can't speak to the intentions of the people making Pure. I mean, perhaps they really did think, oh, we're just going to make Breaking Bad, but with Mennonites, because that'll amp it up. Like, I don't know what they were intending, but I don't think that they considered how this could be taken.
Like, if they wanted to do something with Mennonites, you could have done Letterkenny with Mennonites. That would have been entertaining.
Or you could have just supported Letterkenny. Like, why does Letterkenny belong to Bell? Do you know what? Like, this is the thing,
I don't know,
right?
Because
like
Letterkenny's the best Canadian thing out there.
I mean, it is, but why is the CBC not making the best Canadian thing out there? This is what I'm getting at, right? Why is the CBC being a pale imitation of HBO?
You're contradicting yourself there, John, because you said that the CBC shouldn't be trying.
No, you're absolutely correct. I am contradicting
myself. I think you can hold both viewpoints.
I think John is maybe.
Sorry, I was going to say, I think you can say that they shouldn't be doing it, but if they're going to do it, they should be doing it well.
That's more what I was trying to say. And the second thing I was trying to say is that when I look at Letterkenny, I'm seeing great Canadian talent being held up for Canada and hopefully for the rest of the world. So, to me, because it's successful, it's an example of something that the CBC ought to be doing, but it's not fair to say that because I'm only saying that because it's already successful. You know what I mean? It's sort of a...
So is what sets these things apart the inclusion of the group who is under the microscope in the production of a show about that culture?
I don't know if I'd go far as to say that that's the case for me, but what I can tell you from just having seen what I've seen of the show, which is largely limited to 2 trailers and a behind-the-scenes, like a cast interview thing that are available on YouTube, there's not been a single person of Mennonite descent that's worked on this production. Because if there was, they would have corrected a lot.
I almost feel like it might be worth watching it to see if, the show itself is any different from the trailers.
Could just be the way the trailers are cut.
They could be punching it up for the trailer.
No, for sure.
You never know, right?
It's possible. But I mean, in the trailers, they do show 2 dudes in traditional Old Order outfits, hats, vests, everything, beating the shit out of a guy with a fucking lead pipe. So,
Can't say I've ever seen that in real life.
Look, I've known a lot of Mennonites, and I'll be the first to say I've not known them well because they do the Old Orders anyway, do tend to be a fairly insular community. But they're good people. They're law-abiding people. They're nice people. I've never heard of any of them committing any sort of violence upon a person, let alone a violent crime. It's just weird, man. It's just weird.
The other side of that, John, goes back to your point about it being an insular community.
I mean, that's true.
You're not hearing and seeing
it's not
what
to say,
is going on.
Yeah, it's not to say that it doesn't happen. And you're right, that kind of provides some of the catalyst for the show is that what's really going on in this community you can't see into. Like, I understand, but...
But I don't think the dramatization like that. I think, like, within any subculture, you're going to find that not everything is as peaceful and hunky-dory on the surface.
No, I'd agree with that. But again, to be clear, at the end of the day, the thing that bothers me about it isn't necessarily that you've got a story about a particular culture that maybe gets aspects of that culture wrong. What bothers me about it is the fact that A, it's the CBC doing it, and the CBC is supposed to be, showing Canadians their own culture, not sort of like abusing it or whatever it is they're doing here, exploiting it maybe is a strong word. And B, it's a culture that is not traditionally receptive of this media, and so I don't think they have a voice to provide an alternate viewpoint. And I think that's unfair.
You're painting pretty broad strokes because
sure
there is.
I've only seen a trailer. I can't do much else.
No. But I mean, even the differentiation between, like, I think it goes back, like, when you say, like, you're saying the community can't stand up for themselves. Well, you're looking at a specific subsect that may not engage with mainstream media the way that you do. But that is not all of Mennonite communities.
No, you're right. And Derek, you said, I mean, you grew up going to a Mennonite church, right? So you're certainly part of the Mennonite community by some definition, and you're going to see this, and you know about it, and you can speak. I'm in the article that I'm bringing here, the editorial interviewed a woman who's the head of Mennonite studies at Conrad Grebel University. So, like, she's going to speak, certainly. I'm not saying that they're voiceless entirely. It's different for some reason to me, maybe because the image of Mennonite community that I have in my head is an image of this group that sort of separates themselves from society and definitely does not have televisions. But
it's pretty interesting too, because the page I'm on for watching the trailer, like all the comments, like some of them are like, "Oh, whoa, looks good, can't wait," and then it just gets into this huge amount of infighting with like people like, "Oh, you're just full of shit. This show's gonna be terrible, blah blah blah." There's definitely people out there that are like, "This is not good," and then there's other people out there that are like, "Oh yeah, this is how it really is." So I don't even know what to think of this. Like, this show is just absolutely outlandishly ridiculous. Up there with the was it Amish Mafia on the Discovery Channel?
Yeah.
Shows like that literally made me not get cable anymore. If they wonder why millennials don't get cable anymore, it's because they filled cable with Amish Mafia, Pawn Stars, American Pickers, Mafia Wives, and fucking Honey Boo Boo.
Yeah.
Do you think I give a shit about Honey Boo Boo?
No, that's a good point.
I don't. The only shits I give is I don't want it on my damn TV.
Yeah, that's true.
Tell us what else grinds your gears.
I'm surprised, though, now thinking about it and thinking about your Letterkenny shout out a minute ago. Somebody should have recommended Letterkenny back in our recommendations section. Season 2 is as good as Season 1, and apparently there's a St. Paddy's Day special that's going to come out, too. That show's amazing. If you haven't seen Letterkenny yet, you're missing out.
St. Paddy's Day is huge in Listowel.
Like,
it is a big event in Listowel, so...
I can't tell if you're being sarcastic.
No, it really is.
No, it really is.
No, we were all invited. Christina invited us all
Patty
to
Fest.
St. Paddy's Day in Listowel. Yes.
It's called Patty Fest. It's a big deal. No doubt. I say we go to Patty Fest. Let's do it.
Hard no.
Why not? Anya's going to go.
Don't be Templi, Kayla.
So I have not so much an article, but this media campaign that keeps creeping into my social media feeds. I've heard it on the radio, and it pissed me off. So I looked into it further, and I'm even more pissed off. I don't know. I'm not surprised, but I keep hearing about this both sides of the argument campaign. Is anybody else familiar with this campaign?
No. What is the both sides of the argument campaign? Can you give us a primer on it?
So it is looking at plain packaging laws for cigarettes in Canada. And the thing that popped up in my most recent news feed was that plain packaging laws are making it easier for gangs to infiltrate the market of tobacco and get...
So I have actually heard about this. This is actually a campaign that's sponsored by the tobacco industry.
Well, it must have been. Yeah, there's no way that it's
JTI,
not.
So it is JTI Canada, and specifically JTI is the Japan Tobacco International Tobacco Division of Japan Tobacco. They are an international tobacco product manufacturer, and they are essentially fighting this packaging debate, but in a way that is disingenuous.
Well, of course it is. It seems to be run by some kind of a advocacy group. It's definitely going to be disingenuous, right?
But what's really interesting is, so I pulled up their website, and it's bothsidesoftheargument.ca, and they have a section on the importance of critical thinking. Which is funny, because until you actually dig into who is sponsoring this, you don't know that it's sponsored by a tobacco company.
Right. So they're making you feel good by telling you, oh, you've been thinking critically about this issue. It's good that you're not just accepting whatever the government is force-feeding you on it. Meanwhile, they're actually bamboozling people. Huh.
So here's their view.
That's pretty shitty.
So they have a plain packaging destined to fail. Unions open letter seeks to protect workers' jobs. Where's the next focus for Canadian brand ban? Are you aware? the majority left without a voice. 10 things the RCMP want you to know about illegal cigarettes. And what's the real cost of plain packaging? So they're presenting it as this like government conspiracy to inhibit a consumer's choice in their tobacco products.
So
I would have thought that they would have given up this fight a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm surprised
Right?
that anyone's still investing in it for sure. This sort of thing always kind of makes me wonder because, at the head of it, it's a speech issue, right? It's like, should these companies be allowed to put this speech out into the marketplace and say, this is what we believe, even though it's obviously wrong and trying to, sway people's minds to a negative, but at the same time, you can't really stop them from doing it. You know what I mean? Like, speech has to be combated with more speech. You can't just ban speech.
So I'm reading this because the thing that really pissed me off. So, like, this article, 10 things the RCMP want you to know about illegal cigarettes, is basically saying that plain packaging laws are making it easier for illegal cartons of cigarettes to be brought into
because you
Canada
can't tell them
each
from
year.
legal packaging.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
And so they use Australia as the main counterpoint because Australia was the first of, perhaps not the first, but a very prominent leader in the plain packaging movement. And so evidence from Australia is that illegal trade has increased since plain packaging. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police have proven that the market in illegal cigarettes is used to fund other criminal activities. And so they're trying to use these scare tactics about, like, illegal trafficking of tobacco, the tax burden on the taxpayers because of all of this increased illegal packaging. So let the tobacco manufacturers brand their own packaging.
I mean, the thing of it is that they may not be wrong about it. Right? Like, you have to be open to the fact that maybe they're right, that plain packaging does increase the possibility of illegal cigarettes to be sold, or that the government pushing prices up on cigarettes to dissuade people from buying them pushes people into buying cheaper knockoff off-brand cigarettes, right? Like, these are possible outcomes of trying to fight cigarette smoking.
Sure, but again, I don't understand this whole argument. I don't understand it from either side, actually. I don't understand it from the government side because to be honest, I don't think plain packaging does anything if we can't even see the package and you go into a store.
Right.
Like,
so why does it matter?
The people who are ever going to see the package are the people who are already going to buy it.
That's right.
Because you have to ask to buy it.
I mean, I guess there could be an argument made that, if you're going to pull out a cigarette pack, shake out a cigarette and light it up, that, somebody's not going to be able to see what your brand is, I guess, on the street, but I don't know that that's actually worthwhile in any way, shape, or form.
But it hurts the tobacco manufacturers because you want your packaging to be memorable. You want your packaging to be reason why people are drawn to your product.
So then that's the real value of plain packaging laws, to stop people from, to hurt marketing efforts.
Again, glamorization of
But I still
tobacco.
don't think that's a legitimate argument, because if you go back to the only way you would, okay, let's assume there isn't plain packaging. The only way you would ever see that is if you were hanging out with someone who was smoking, for example. But it's not like, I mean, I enjoy drinking occasionally, but I'm not just going to go up to someone and look at the label and be like, oh, that's cool, I'll go buy that or switch to that.
Yes or no, though. When I go to the LCBO,
hang on. I will, however, ask the person how it is, and then they will tell me their opinion on it, and that might influence me.
Yeah, but when I go to the LCBO, I often buy based on labels.
I'm going to get their opinion of it before I make a change.
But it's that brand recognition as well, and brand recognition is huge in all consumer goods. So if you are able to see,
you can't have brand recognition if you can't see the package.
Yes, but that's why they're fighting it, because perhaps you don't see it on the shelf, but you see it in people's hands. You see it in marketing. You see, if everything looks the same, how do you know the difference between a De Maurier and a Player's Light?
I think we might be getting far afield, though. Is it really about the specific things?
There's no marketing. There's no marketing anymore.
Right.
The only time you would ever see this is if, okay, The only scenarios, again, that I have to go back to, the only scenarios that I can imagine where you would see it is if you were hanging out with someone who smoked, or if you're maybe the child of a parent who smoked, who has that. In which case, yes, I could see that would be the compelling argument. But if you're hanging out with someone who's smoking, odds are, again, you're going to take their word on what they think of it or their opinion of the product over what the packaging looks like.
But the packaging is like, so because you do have to ask for it, if you see plain packaging, chances are you're not going to say like, hey, what are you smoking? You're going to know the packaging. Like I grew up with a smoker in my family, a hardcore de Maurier smoker because people are loyal to their brands. And so I know what de Mauriers look like in package. I know what de Mauriers look like. I know what the physical cigarette looks like in comparison with something like a Player's Light. And so when you are able to identify things based on their core components, it sticks in your mind. So I might not be a smoker, but if I was going to buy a cigarette, I know de Maurier, I know their logo, I know their packaging, I would be able to identify it, and they lose that part of the brand recognition in plain packaging.
And I don't disagree, don't get me wrong. I guess from as a non-smoker who doesn't have maybe the same experience being the familiarity of a package like that, I just don't understand. I guess in that same scenario, if it was plain packaging the entire time, you would still know the brand name because it would be written on the plain package. So if that's the only thing that's in the back of your head when you go to buy this hypothetical pack of cigarettes at some point in the future, like that's still the same thing that's in the back of your head, right? You're not going to think of this. I mean, the branding, yeah, it might have an effect, but if there's no branding or if there's branding, it's not going to make a difference. The point is that you know the manufacturer, you know the name that you're going to go and request.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fair point. And maybe I don't know. Like I said, as a non-smoker, maybe I don't have the same perspective that some people might on the issue, but I don't know.
I think we're getting kind of far afield here, though. Like again, we're getting tied up on whether or not you should have plain packaging laws, but not about the actual social media campaign that's actually bothering Kayla so much. Like to me, the question is, should it be okay for this sort of prevalent marketing campaign to exist on the internet that's a pro-cigarette marketing campaign, given that it's not okay for it to be on radio and television?
I don't think this is any different than anyone else complaining about anything the government does.
Right.
I really don't. Replace this with them making car emissions, a higher standard. It doesn't make any difference.
It's just regulation.
Yep.
Okay. Fair enough.
But that's
I would recommend that you all read the FAQ section that they have on the both sides of the argument.ca website. It's pretty interesting.
It's going to be in our show notes, so check them out.
It's fascinating. Like, for example, there's one statement that says, "What are the negative effects of plain packaging?" Answer: one negative effect is that plain packaging patronizes adult smokers. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, so it's dumb. All right, good to know.
For the record,
it is so dumb.
For the record, I think there should be plain packaging. I just don't see how it's going to make any difference.
All right, well, that's about it for us tonight. Thank you for joining us. I hope you're enjoying the new episodes. I guess we're 3 new episodes in, and it seems to be going pretty well so far. So definitely let us know. We're changing the tune as opposed to episode 201 where we said don't contact us. I think we're ready to open up the floodgates. Go ahead, hit that Facebook page. Just search Slightly Sauced. Head over to SlightlySauced.com. You can leave a comment right on the show if you want. I think it's Tumblr, so you could reblog it if you're into that kind of bullshit. Or send us an email, contact@SlightlySauced.com. If it's a good one, you might even get on the show. What are you giggling about?
There's a typo on the website.
I'm trying to do the outro. You're still talking about the fucking Two Choices cigarette website.
There are health risks.
Oh, health risks.
2 choices, 1 cigarette.
God damn it.
To rule them all.
Thank you for listening to our show. Goodbye now. We're done. Say goodbye, Kayla.
Us out? What's that?
Say goodbye, Kayla.
Goodbye, Kayla.
I seriously can't believe that there's a typo on their website.
Why can't you? They're stupid. They're tobacco companies. What do you expect?
This train is off the rails.
These things that they have like fucking spelling. Bye.